Okay, good. Thank you. Similarly, there are other examples. BMW was a good example. They have been doing this, and they upgraded also using technology, some risk management. So as I said, geotagging, I think we discussed. So they were geotagging their supplier plant locations. As I said, many companies even don't know the location of their supplier plants. Sometimes they have changed, they have not updated. So they created this kind of geotagging of all supplier location plants, because many decisions in supply chain is based on that, all location, what is the lead time, transportation costs, etc. Plus they also started doing collecting lot of data from consumers as well as from social media, which is new for many manufacturing company. They were not so much collecting data from the consumer side previously. So they did this. Other good example globally is Cisco. So Cisco had a very robust risk management system. They have a global component risk mitigation plan, and for particularly they look at single source items. For them, some single source items are inevitable, so they have to buy, but then they they obviously pay special attention to them. I was trying to look at, there are many supply chain resilience related frameworks available. This is kind of simplistic, and this is recent, also done by some Indian colleagues here. So supply chain resilience drivers, as I have said, there are many things globally which is essentially creating driver for companies to build this resilience. Lot of vulnerability, risk and uncertainty, also economic considerations. That's why companies are forced to do this. Then they have to clearly look at their, what is the overall extent of their supply base, what are the things they need to do in planning and network design, and parallelly doing this supply chain resilience assessment. Now strategies, again we have looked at, so pre-disruption, during disruption, and post-disruption. So some are absorptive capabilities, means that what is you have internally within your team, from your cross-functional team and multi-disciplinary expertise, you already have developed some kind of internal capabilities, and if you get external knowledge, you have the capacity to absorb this knowledge. So the absorptive capacity broadly means that. Then restorative, so you have to at the end when something happens, how quickly can you restore back to normal situation. And adaptive is, during disruption you have to pretty much think on the feet and take certain decisions. So many companies, as we said in Toyota's case, they could do, but is this adaptive capabilities are difficult. It's even in personal lives we face this difficulty very quickly. If some emergency happens, how quick thinking we are. So that is essentially the adaptive. And if companies are able to do all of this, then finally the impact on performance can be a kind of dampened, and companies will get back to normal. So there is a lot of research also now happening looking at from nature, right. So this concept of resilience also came, the natural world is highly resilient. Still species are surviving irrespective of a lot of natural disasters happening. Some species have kind of, dinosaurs passed, they got extinct, but many species are still there. So there is a lot of things to also, there is a concept of ecological resilience. There is a lot of research happening in other fields like geology and other places. So some literature has been borrowed to understand the concept of how you can apply this in a business context or supply chain context. At the same time, now again technology is being adopted. Technology enablement should help in building resilience. Now Industry 5.0 is kind of extension to Industry 4.0, where we are actively taking into account the human elements, right. So how human and technology will work together. So again we have to do this at a plant level or a facility level to network level, and finally at the community or the society level. So there are resilience dimensions, sustainability dimensions, and human centricity dimensions. And technology should be an enabler, as we are already mentioning, for collaboration, coordination, visibility, automation and analytics. Management is primarily as a viability. So how finally there is also research you will see as a kind of viability of the supply chains. If irrespective of whatever things are happening, we are constantly subjected to shocks, how can still the business or the entire supply chain remain viable, right. How they can navigate these shocks is something what people are studying, and what is the best way to do it. We may not have time to fully go through, but this is a case, since again I worked on it, it is a real company, and I had a case which I use in teaching, plus there is a paper. So, there is a paper, it is 2013 paper, almost 12 years ago I wrote it, and it is an IJPR, but it is based on a real case. As I said, this was the motivation was Boeing Dreamliner delay, but then this was an aerospace company which was kind of, this I did as a consultant, and then once I got in academics I published it with some mass data that time. So, this aerospace company was facing this problem, right. So, they wanted to assess the risks, and particularly when you are developing a new product, you do not know, there is a lot of uncertainty. When the product is already in the market, you still have some information, you already know some of the suppliers. This you are doing at a very early stage, but assessing this risk at an early stage is important. Before a product is launched, you should know what the potential things can go wrong, so you can correct. But doing this at multiple uncertainties happen at this stage, because sometimes these are new suppliers, a lack of knowledge about suppliers' performance, the product design may be unique, and there are uncertainties which result in terms of not meeting these performance criteria, right. So, for some months I was trying to talk to this team of people and address what are the parameters we should use to even measure the risk in this context at the early stage of product development. So, broadly we could narrow this down into 4 things. So, driver of risk is kind of degree of supplier involvement. To what extent suppliers are involved, that will also dictate the risk. What is the level of process complexity and logistical complexity and kind of extent of capacity flexibility. Now, for each of them then I created kind of sub items. This took, as I said, for months to discuss and come up with this process of kind of drivers of this risk. So, subsystem, let us say subsystem is a kind of broader part of an aircraft. It can be the body or the wings, or we call it empennage or fuselage. So, that is a subsystem. The subsystem's risk depends on degree of supplier involvement, process complexity and so on. For each of them there are sub risk. So, degree of supplier involvement is obviously the biggest source of risk. There are many things which go there. So, percentage of suppliers which are new, more new suppliers mean more risk. Degree of design customization by suppliers. If suppliers are doing lot of customization themselves, then again it can be a source of risk. Impacts of suppliers matrix on product performance. Supplier coupling index is a little bit more technical. So, it is when every design has some input and output. So, this is a kind of addition of all those input output which shows the degree of couplings. If I do something and my work is dependent on somebody else, that is a kind of measurement of coupling. Fraction of parts designed by suppliers which has new materials, with a new manufacturing process and so on. The key message here is there are some kind of sub factors and there are some main factors which kind of dictate the risk. Then we collected the data and assessed the risk. The process we followed is, what we need to assess is the vulnerability of each subsystem. This is done for an aircraft part, but this can be done for anything. You are essentially assessing vulnerability of a system. In this case, it is parts of an aircraft. Then create scenarios and weights for these and assess the vulnerability of suppliers. Once you have assessed the vulnerability of subsystem, let us say the wings are most complicated. I am giving an example. Wings are most problematic in terms of supply chain risk. Then you have to find out who are all the suppliers involved in supplying components for the wing. Again, do the similar assessment for the suppliers. Then do a supplier level FMEA, failure mode effect analysis. Then plan for control actions for the subsystem for each supplier. So, this is an extensive period of time which we worked on this for more than a year, almost 1.5 years to do this full work for this company. And then we created scale. Some of these cannot be quantified, so we created scale for each of these. Some of these could be quantified, and there are methods which we can use. There are simple multi-criteria methods. Some of these also required more advanced, and they could not also agree to many things. So, when given experts were kind of rating these risks, there were also huge variation, because by default I involve people from R&D, people from engineering, manufacturing side, supply chain side. So, then we had to kind of quantify using fuzzy numbers and so on. So, different kind of things were there. So, broadly the business and supply chain related risk, as I said, can be interdependent. Some of these can be independent, but most of them will be interdependent, and then we need to quantify those risks. Sensing, responding and adaptability are key risk management capability, and risk response index, as we have shown, is one way to kind of quantify the impact based on recovery time and survival time. So, with this we now move to kind of climate risk and what is broadly happening in the society. These obviously also impact business, but in general it impacts population more and communities more. India, as we are all experiencing, and it's not just India, rest of the world we can see what is happening to now even in Hollywood. So there all the rich people homes are on fire, so nobody is exempt. They can think they can escape, but it's happening. So any kind of natural disasters, the intensity is very high, frequency is very high, and 80% of Indians live in kind of climate vulnerable areas, and 1/3 of districts in India are kind of seeing swapping trend. So drought prone areas are becoming flood prone, so very unpredictable things are happening. But we cannot just sit. So every country and at a local level we have to take actions to see what we can do best. Obviously there are certain government level guidelines. So this intergovernmental panel on climate change, they say this resilience to climate change is what we need to do to prepare for, respond to and recover for these events. And building climate resilience requires a holistic and multidimensional approach to enhance community social, human, natural, physical, financial capabilities. So the key thing is multidimensional approach, multi-stakeholder approach, and kind of multidisciplinary expertise. Right? This is not every individual, or it's not the role of only disaster risk mitigation authorities, or some, if a flood prone area, maybe it's kind of civil engineers or people who are addressing flooding, and they will do, but it requires so much of different knowledge from geologists and climatologists and other people, healthcare professionals. So everybody, and this is I think currently lacking, not just in India, in other countries also I see it's kind of some group of people are working, but they are not the only one who can influence it. The actual implementation will be done by others. Sometimes parallelly different projects are going on and they are not talking to each other. The findings are not shared. So it's a kind of very difficult, because these problems are so complex. But sometimes, okay, let's say as you are also mentioning, he was also mentioning in Orissa some government official you are working, that person gets transferred. Madam was also mentioning. So things are very much dependent on person here. Somebody starts a project, does some work, and then person is transferred or something happens to them. Then again coming back, this continuity becomes difficult in this situation. There is a lot of reports, and some of these I don't know who reads or whoever how this is taken. These are kind of World Bank reports. There will be European Union reports, there will be reports by US, or even NASA has a lot of climate related, risk related reports. But generally this is also related about disaster risk financing and insurance frameworks, right? The kind of things which needs to be done so that effective post both before, so underlying risk, and that will values. Sometimes if you hear now, a lot of areas in US, the insurers, US insurance is very high, everything can be insured. But now the risk is so high, insurance companies are saying that you can no longer be insured. Let's say I have bought a house insurance, I have been paying the premium for so many years, now the risk has increased so much, suddenly the insurance companies are saying you are no longer insured. All my money has gone. When the risk is maximum high, I have actually nothing. So most of these people who are losing their homes, they will not get anything. They are already out of insurance, and the insurance companies can simply dump them, saying that.
For example, in US they have actually exempted hurricanes. Is out of the list. I mean, you won't get insured.
Yes, so the same thing. I think this far also people. I have some friends in Los Angeles. They are saying that they will not get anything if their home goes away. This is kind of scary. So this also has to be regulated. I mean, everything cannot be, the common person is at loss for everything. Then again I give examples. Orissa I think is good example. Whatever they had some bad experience before, but they have learnt a lot, and community involvement is high. Everywhere in every sphere in generally I see Oriya people are collaborating better than at least Bengalis. So they work well in communities. This was also, there are some reports we should discuss. Whoever has some, but at least next half an hour we can spend time. Now, in many of these things we have seen the healthcare is something which kind of suffers. Right? Even in normal situation, it's getting difficult to for getting people access. If some disaster happens, then you can virtually assume nothing is there. That's why I was giving example of Sundarbans. In normal situation, is very difficult. Plus, if the storms are happening every year multiple times, then in Odisha also similar situation. Getting healthcare in those conditions is very difficult, because the healthcare facilities itself are also damaged, right. So, how to create this community kind of climate resilient healthcare system is also kind of big area of research. There are different climate change risks happening, and it is known. The degree of it is uncertainty is possibly high, but we know that this is going to happen, right. So, in a healthcare facility, we have to manage the workforce, water, sanitation, hygiene, healthcare waste, energy availability, the infrastructure, and the impact of many other things, water, sanitation, waste, etc. So, this is a broad framework, but this report is quite detailed. What I think, when we come up with these reports, there are different frameworks, there are some guidelines, there are some process, there are steps mentioned, but still it has to be done at a local level. What this means for us in this small area, how we should do, that is what the local administration should work ideally with even universities and common people and so on. This I do not know, because there is no place where citizen consultation happens here. What I am seeing in other parts of the world is, in such kind of situations, government, the local municipal corporation even will come up with their own plan, and then they will say this is what we have done, and they will ask for opinion. Now, at least for some things government is asking, I am seeing a new bill is passed, like for the IIM bill or education, this even for NEP, I think they were asking for consultation, right. But even these kind of things, have you seen any consultation happening, like disaster risk or climate change things? No. So, this also has to happen, because this is kind of in people's doors, this is directly impacting people.
There is a scope to discuss with the local people who are involved or will be affected by that. Based on that report is prepared, but it is altogether another thing that nobody paid attention to it, but on pen and paper they are taken into consideration for discussion in environment impact assessment.
Okay. Is there in some papers maybe, but at least at a local level we are not seeing anything. But in Uttarakhand, Himachal, is it?
Especially, actually that should happen after that what happened in 2013, I think, in Uttarakhand. So the situation was that, because at that time I was at IIT Roorkee doing my PhD. So the situation was so worst. All were supplying the same medicine, all were supplying the same food packets. So from morning to evening, people they are supposed to eat same things, same stuff. So and then there is no coordination. Funds were allotted from the government, the central government, state government, NGOs were working, other local organizations were working. But if you are going with the same kind of stuff every time, bread you are giving them, milk you are giving them every time, you just imagine how they can survive. So the coordination is one thing where we are lacking, and then traceability. So we found there that even after 1 month, we were finding the dead bodies and all that. So people survived, and then they were somewhere in the forest, left out, So that, how we can develop that technology where we can, because drone is there, we can sense where the human beings are. But even then, the coordination is one thing where we are lagging, and after that also, we have seen the coordination level when we are talking about setting up the these during COVID-19. So setting up your foreign field hospital, or setting up your vaccine centers, mobile centers. So again, there was lack of coordination, and we were struggling to get the vaccines. And then if you see, 20% of vaccine were wasted because they were not used on time, they were not channelized to that. Yes. And we were struggling to get the vaccines, and that time we could afford 20% more than that in some area, where because of coordination. We are not, how we can be so ignorant, we are not knowing that how many people are left in this particular area and this many vaccines are required. So this is still means.
But this is even what you are talking is during the event and after. But before that, now we know in 2030 it's not that everything will be fine and suddenly on 2030 things will be bad, right? Things have already started becoming bad since last 10 years and it is going to be worse. So what is it that every state, at every district, something might be happening, but at least people are not aware. People are not consulted, or what people should do is not very clear. We saw that Aviral thing. So some NGOs or somebody is doing, there is no coordination, and what is the common thing which is missing?
Disaster management team is there. I'm forgetting the name. Some ministry has set up some to deal with these natural kind of disasters. Yes. So, but yes, they are there in Delhi. So when they will reach to up to that level is another point.
Actually, I will take a leaf out of what Madam actually came and discussed. This problems of coordination is there even at the top level. I mean, at the ministry level also, what she was saying is that there are egos who should approach first. Okay, like you gave an example of this, local sourcing and resourcing. So a large part of the Indian ecology is made of SMEs. Okay. Now SMEs also need support from other ministries, like some kind of soft incentives to develop. Okay, like even if it is a food sector, food manufacturing, तो वो लोग का फिर मतलब वहाँ से भी मतलब सपोर्ट लेना पड़ता है. So you have some cross kind of things also. So somehow that coordination यहाँ पर इंडिया में वही वर्कआउट करता है कि ऊपर से मतलब कुछ आएगा, मतलब top down driven, that kind of thing. So even at that top level also, that is a serious kind of what madam was also mentioning is that मतलब वो coordination अगर कहीं कहीं होता है, then it can seep down and down to that level, I think. But that is a very important.
Other thing, I have not seen other countries, but UK is good. They have these all-party parliamentary groups, right? So people from irrespective of whichever political spectrum, they are, each minister apart from their portfolio, based on their interest, they are giving some charge of 2-3 very selected areas which are important now and in future. For example, let us say in AI there is a group. So that group, there are few ministers, but they are allowed to bring in 10-15 more experts, some people from industry, some people from academics who are part of that group. So they will create that kind of AI policy or industry wise what should be done in AI, and they will work on it for 2 years, and there will be extensive consultation. So they go to these people present, actually this team goes to the industry and present, they are already members from the industry. So these kind of things happen. It's not just left to a few bureaucrats and
sir, here also there is a standing committee in parliament where there are mix of these political parties. But nowadays it has become more of a political agenda there. For example, even if I take this NEP thing, so NEP jo hai, whichever are the central ruled, I mean party ruled states, they will incorporate, but the other side is vehemently opposing. So you have here certain parts who are implementing and certain who are not implementing. And even with these in place, there happens to be a mix that there are other things which come in.
Something, but I think the message here what we are trying to kind of address is coordination involving multiple stakeholders and getting the views. Particularly for climate resilience, we cannot afford to be like sitting in some fancy office and doing these reports. It has to happen in the ground and involving people, and also younger people. I don't know, at least the universities or top institutes can also make that kind of suggestion and local. In certain specific states whether something will happen, we don't know, but wherever we live, we can make that kind of change.
Sir,
Yeah.
you are talking about. Like in West Bengal, sir, there is a Sasthu Sati scheme.
Yes.
But and also central government implemented scheme scope is there, that is Ayushman Bharat.
Yes.
But the point is, as the ruling party is TMC, they are not implementing Ayushman Bharat. So the resident of West Bengal, whoever is suffering from cancer-like disease, terminal illness, mainly the Mumbai is the prime location for the treatment. But for going to Mumbai and getting the treatment over there, Ayushman Bharat is the card.
Yes.
But resident of West Bengal, as they are debarred from that particular scheme, they are not able to get the benefit to having the treatment in Mumbai. So that kind of what sir is talking about, that the ruling party conflict is there.
Even with the Swasthya Shakti, it doesn't work. I have faced it.
Even within the state, things are not working. Yeah, so this, but we also as citizens, we can do as much only whatever we can, but we don't have that voice. That's what I am also saying. There in many, at least in functioning democracies, there is a very strong citizen consultation, right, where they ask everything. Now at least in our area, transport is a big issue. Everybody has car, but that doesn't mean public transport will not be there. Like older people have very lot of difficulty. So now this local government has created a complete new plan for transportation system, say for the next 10 years. Different bus routes, bus lanes, trains, but they have put everything out and for citizens to actually give comments. And the local mayor is actually coming up on social media and encouraging people to write, because they cannot do anything if no citizen come up and give their views. From that they will see what people want, and is this really whatever they have come up with, is it what citizen wants. So they have looked at both the affordability, accessibility, as well as thinking of climate thing, what energy efficient vehicles and so on, electric buses, all these things they have planned. Just a simple example. In this case, I think this kind of local mobilization, but in our country, despite all of these things happen, so I think it's still citizens have to possibly take the lead and do something, and that's why entrepreneurs are coming up, individuals are coming up, and some people are themselves by cleaning lakes, they are taking things on their hand, they are making roads. If nothing happens, people have to still survive, but I think some institutional framework is needed. And just to end, this is another framework available. It's called Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. You will see. So, what is the thing we should increase? Global disaster mortality and number of affected people. This is what we should reduce, and these are the things we should increase. And then they have certain plans, very broad level framework. But as Madam was saying, for SDGs, then we took that SDG framework and kind of adapted for Indian context and went into the details, right. Similarly, Sendai framework can be taken and kind of done this at an Indian level, at a state level and district level and community level, and what people need to do. Whether we are doing, I have not studied, I have not seen, but maybe some of you can look at it. So with this, I will end. I guess I have a lot of things, but we can still have some discussion. I think we have a little bit of time left, another kind of 10 minutes. But in general, we covered a lot of topics. I didn't know what is your profile or what background and how much you knew. Normally our classes are also very heterogeneous, but it's not that it's completely heterogeneous. Dairy and HRM all sitting together is difficult for us. But I guess we covered many different topics. Hopefully it will raise some awareness, give some food for thought for you. For research scholars, these are areas for research you can do. For faculty also, for research we can do. But others, younger people, hopefully you will get motivated. Either you create startup or you do something else. There are enough problems to solve. And so we have covered different forms of sustainability. What is done in India, what is done globally, circular economy, LCA, different tools, risk measurement, resilience. So anything. I mean, ideally you should summarize. I mean, what did you get out of this, right? Anything you found interesting, you learnt new, which you want to further pursue. That is what I would like to hear from you.
Sir, I have since you have worked in the car manufacturing industry, you are seeing, Sir, how is circularity addressed over there? Because I'll just give you 2-3 examples. Like, let's take for Hyundai. Hyundai keeps on changing their models as well as the engine structure and all those. Now the problem is if I buy a car today, at least I will aim for using it for 8 to 10 years. Within that 8 to 10 years, there are so many changes. Now, when I'm going to the workshop and I'm asking that there is a problem with this, now they are coming up with a solution. Please sell this off and take another car instead of repairing. And even if I go to aftermarket, those parts are not available. So how is this being addressed?
This is not, you are absolutely right, this is not addressed at all in systematic. They are still doing it within their factory. They will say we are recycling water, or we are reusing energy, or we are doing some of the waste in the production they are using, because that is easy to do for them, right. But from the product side, there is a clear trade off between them for them to extending the life of the vehicle and launching new models, right. But hopefully they will realize that keeping on launching so many new models, for them also is cannibalizing cells, and this has a serious impact on circular economy and sustainability. But
And this
most of them are not doing.
And
but
with this competition, sir, they have brought in Kia also as a subsidiary. I mean, they are the same actually. Now they are competing with each other. One is coming up to take up the market share of compact SUV. Then again, Kia is also launching. So what is happening? In the totality, Hyundai is having a huge market share. The others are not having that much. But they are only coming up with this. So that means too much of production, too much of sales. But where is the circularity? I don't know.
No, there is no. Plus, but hopefully it will also come here. You are seeing globally the industry is in a big slump. People are not buying that many new cars now. Globally, there is a strong push towards second hand and used cars, and they are not buying new cars. Electric is obviously also fueling this. People are not buying the old, at least the old diesel cars in Europe anymore. So the industry is going through a change, and this we have been talking that they also have to reposition themselves as mobility companies, not car companies. They may not be producing cars in 10 years. Have they thought? Not many people are thinking. They have the engineering expertise, they have so much of production expertise. It will be sad if Volkswagen completely shuts down, right? But it is going in that direction. They have, because again, who is going to bail the cat? Who is going to tell? This very strong CEO is needed who are going to say in 10 years we are not going to produce cars. We are going to provide some other kind of mobility or transport solutions. It may be even e-scooter. I am just giving example. Maybe it will be kind of volocopters like air taxis. We are a mobility company, we have expertise, let us develop something new instead of keeping on adding more models to it, right. Whatever models we have there, we will kind of try to service them, try to minimize them and recycle them and so on, and we are going to do. But they are not thinking. Suddenly obviously Tesla has come, others have come, and they are doing the, anyway most of these car companies are behind that. Plus in future I do not think not many people are going to buy cars.
Is this in the entire car industry?
Yes, entire car industry is a big slump now.
I had actually an interaction with some Maruti executives in 2023, and at that time I raised this point of sustainability and all these things. Now, I don't know, at that time they said clearly that their focus is on ICE engines, not on EV. Two reasons. One is that obviously about their competency in that field, and second, they were very much clear that ICE will be still there in the considering the
future, 10 years, 15 years it will be there.
Now considering this only, you see that there are a lot of problems here with the EV two-wheelers, specifically Ola. You will see that there are a lot of issues which have come out, multiple issues, and obviously there are the infrastructural thing is also not there ready as of now. But what is more worrying me is that aspect of the social part. Like the government has come up with a regulation that 15 years cars will be phased out, and when I travel in taxis in Calcutta, there are people who have been driving this I mean, that is their livelihood. But if you are doing this kind of legislation, there should be some support for these people also in terms of an alternative for them. Because, like we also drive for 10 to 12 years if we maintain, it's, we do the pollution, everything is fine. Now for those who are commercially dependent and you are phasing it out, there must be some, alternative, some support from the also. That is a serious, problem which is compounded by the fact that nowadays, the taxis which many people avail are senior citizens, but you have this, all made, through online.
Yeah.
And so therefore, a large section, they don't
Not
even have
able to-
passengers. They are, moving about and they're, they are really, really very...
This is again that when I was thinking systems thinking is needed. Whenever some registration is coming up, we don't understand the full impact of it. It is from an environmental perspective good, but as you said, there are other social. So this kind of systems driven analysis is not done.
So again, in General Motors, the taxi that we know in Kolkata, which was there, the designing was such that aftermarket, those parts and all, everything was available. So it could be used for so many years. So I think that again should be given importance to, rather than having so many
New
flashy
models.
cars and all.
Yeah, we had some.
Yes, sir. So about the tax part, so like with the help of Microsoft AI, what the clear tax company is there based in Bangalore. So for the first time, what they did with the help of them, like 2 lakhs gig workers, they claimed tax refund for the first time of 30 crore rupees, and they claimed the tax refund for through WhatsApp. So this is thing, it's coming up in the future. And to summarize this workshop, like it's a very good workshop. We learned a lot. It was like more to be learned, but we have only 5 days. In the starting days, initially we were like scared to speak, but as the day passes, everyone interacted, and we had a lot of learning. The examples we saw about the fishing flag, the buttons, and all the other things. So it's quite interesting to know all those things, and we can also have some creativity like that to think inside the campus as well about the waste management and all those things.
This
Because
itself is kind of a mini city. Lot of things can be tried as a pilot here. You are giving the pond example, no? Why can't we do it ourselves here?
yeah, and say in the mess itself, we see like whatever the left out waste we
Yes.
used to put in one bucket only, whether the wrapper or the eggshells, everything. So we can do something about that, like how after that after the waste will go somewhere else. So it's not like people are not aware or something else. We can do something about that, to have the eggshells and all the other thing in one part, and to make the other eatable things in one part, so that they can be more segregation, proper segregation can be there. So we can think more about like that things, and anything other else what we want to do with these examples, and we can see more, create more awareness among ourselves, because ultimately if we will change, then others will change.
Same thing. You can start in your own hostel first.
Yeah.
Do something.
Actually, the implications of this workshop, is for me at least is to raise some questions. And if I go back and try to address it in some way, like you said, within that, it is a great way to, kind of, learn a lot of things. And so this workshop, again, to sum it up, I would thank you, I would thank the team for organizing this, and also very well coordinated. So obviously there are lot of things to learn, but within this 5 days there were a lot of thoughts that have been triggered, and that is one of the gains from this. And like I said, that otherwise if we just go back and then life continues as usual, but if we actually kind of take some of the learnings and try to implement it, okay,
Take even
that
a
is
smaller
the
problem and
Yeah.
see what you
Yeah.
can do. That is.
Sir, first of all, I want to thank you, Doctor. I also thank you, the team, and Dr. Thakur for this beautiful workshop. Sir, and this 5 day stay, I have interacted with my friends, and they are all brilliant and very, very knowledgeable. And maybe we can find some of them indulge themselves in social entrepreneurship. Sir, I am sure that one question is common in our mind, and on that part I want to have your suggestions. That, sir, yesterday you have given us an example of a healthcare facility. One person founded some company, Mr. Sujoy. Okay, and he is implementing in rural areas primary healthcare facility. So, sir, in social entrepreneurship, that healthcare example, if I can take, that I know that we all know that in India doctors are actually heavily paid, and doctors are mainly interested in the private sector to get more and more earnings. But, sir, in social entrepreneurship, if I need to found a company, there has to be a sustainability between the profit making as well as the social cause, and we all have a good cause in our heart. So how to balance that? Because in rural area, people don't have that much capacity to pay the doctor, as well as government schemes are also running. So how to balance between this profitability as well as serving the nation with a good cause?
So this is what I mean. If you follow their journey, since I know it better, any social entrepreneur is starting possibly has that social cause in mind, right? People also do not want to make loss, but generally these people are not that profit oriented. What Sujay used to tell earlier days, that I want to be operationally sufficient. So I should have enough money to at least cover all my costs first. So I am not making huge losses, but and they could show that even with this 90 rupees, 100 rupees and paying a few employees, you are still not making huge losses, and that was an eye opener even to him, that you can run if you manage your capital costs low. You don't make big investment in buildings, you don't create a big team. That's why he was very careful in choosing the right people, where he will go, and focus on good quality work. You don't need to actually have a lot of money. They were not going for big funding also. Whatever from his own money, and people were actually paying, he was getting some CSR fund, other things, they were actually self-sufficient. They were not making big profit, but now itself, now also they are making profit. It's not that they are making loss. It's not a huge margin, they are not making few hundred crores, but you are satisfying needs of people, you are self-sufficient and making little bit money, and that should be enough for those people. And but it requires, as I have shown you, a careful path. Any wrong path can be very bad for any startup or entrepreneur. You can quickly burn cash, right? So it was important that you kind of preserve your capital and cash and do things and navigate. As I showed, they started with this and then moved on to focus. That time, then their own money pressure became high, so they had to look for some additional revenue generation opportunities. Again, when things stabilized, they started doing something more. So it will not. There is a path you have to follow, and good advice helps. So there are. You are not the only person. So he had very good advisors also. There are some US based people. Actually, some Bengali. Some of them are IIT Kharagpur pass out. So they are in his.
Certain doctors who do it philanthropically, and we every fortnight go to Sundar.
That is common. Some people are anyway doing for a cause. But if you are a company, that's fine. But that's why he also found out that there are people who are willing to be doctors in the local area, because they are also fed up with big cities, setting up a practice. If I am a small general practitioner in a big city, I am actually from Mednipur or Bakura, and I don't know anybody or no relative, it's very difficult for them to set up practice in big city. So they want to be in their local town, but there were no opportunities. Now, because they don't want to be in the government sector also, right? So this case, they are kind of not making. So I think part of it is related to how much more you want. Sometimes we are always working for more. If you are happy with general good life and make reasonable amount of money, it will be fine.
Normally people go on asking for BMWs and all, like, I will have this, since I have done.
That is your New Year resolution, then it's a problem.
Then that's a problem. You have to be very modest.
Sir, that is the. Sir,
So my research is on entrepreneurship, and I am in touch with a lot of entrepreneurs these days. And what I've seen is that it all boils down
down to the entrepreneur who is the main actor of the show. So based on the conversations that I've had, so I've been asking them, what do you mean by success and sustainability in your startup? And it's amusing that how they feel that success is subjective. So for somebody, success is the impact that they're creating through the startup, and for somebody, it's the profit that they're making. So it all boils down to how they are building a startup and what vision they're having for the startup. So it can be just impact. So some of them are just breaking even. So as long as they're not making losses, it's successful. But for the other person, they have a criteria that this much profit has to be made. So that is what I have observed.
Sir, the example of that particular company, it is a service company, and willing doctors and philanthropic doctors come of their own. But
No,
suppose,
no,
sir,
the willing.
no, paid, but maybe on the lower scale, and they are happy with that.
Yeah.
But so suppose it is a engineering company and not the computer related, not any IT company, investment oriented company, and someone is willing to construct that one. So how to get the fund, the seed capital? What is the avenue, sir, in India especially, sir?
I mean, I don't exactly know, but there are, I mean, some funds are available, right? You possibly will know.
Yeah, funds are available. If you look into the Startup India, DPIIT, okay, go back home and just check it. Over there, at different stages, there are different funds which the government gives. But you have to have a solid pitching for your whatever you are thinking, your plan, that has to be chalked out very nicely to be placing to them. It's not that easy, but yes, it is there. If your idea is very strong and if you have the required manpower and everything planned out, then they give that money.
So initial team and some ideas, and you already experimented something, you got some results that you need to show.
Depends. It depends. It depends upon, the size of the startup and what kind of a work it is.
There are different incubators. In IIT Kharagpur only there are 3 to 5 incubators and all of them.
Yes, and try making a liaison with all these IITs and IIMs like IIM Ahmedabad. They already have this incubator system and all. So you have to go up and talk.
And make a proposal and pitch.
Student of IIT or IIM?
No, nothing like that. You have to be a student of IIT, nothing of that sort. You can approach. Your idea is very important. Even if you don't have a formal education, that also
was
does
also funded by IIT Kharagpur.
Yes.
So, okay, I think we have
Sir,
to go.
I have one more question, sir. The workshop is mainly based on sustainable development, but in the developing countries like India, there is a sure short dichotomy between the pure economic development and sustainable development. For example, in recently there is many articles are being coming out in the newspaper regarding the river linking project Ken Betwa that was planning to divert the river water through the Panna Tiger Reserve that area, and it will surely impact the tribal population and many 80 to 90 villages there. So if even if they consult with the population, surely they will protest against the development, but at the same time the development will also benefit the Bundelkhand region, which is mostly dried area, and the water will be supplied. So then it is obviously needed the sustainable development all over the world, but for countries who are already in developing stage now, not developed that much like Western countries, then how they will balance these things along with their economic development of their country.
So this is again not should be ad hoc. I think government should have done some enough homework. They should also make it this awareness clear, let's say in one page or a couple of slides. They should explain what is the rationale behind doing this, right? We don't know unless you maybe read the full paper, you will not know. I am hoping that there are enough expertise which has gone into creating that plan. That's why government thinks it's a absolutely right plan. They should have thought about multiple scenarios, and this is a long-term impact, right? This has huge impact for next entire lifetime of that country. So they have to create different scenarios. What is the impact in the long run, and is it better economically, plus what is the environmental impact? They should have assessed. If they have done it, they should make it public, make it fully aware. If it is primarily economic development without any sustainability, then possibly there is a huge risk to it. But I am assuming enough expertise has been given into it. and so that it may look like that it is purely economic, because none of these things will happen in a day or in a few years. The negative impact will be shown after later on, but let's say the economic benefits, and even they are doing something else to kind of negate the effect of the potential impact, then it's fine. But that message should go to the public if they are very confident, if they have done this analysis like madam has shown. No? If that analysis is made to us, we understand. If everything is hidden, then we have all these doubts, and if it is kind of shaky ground, then people will question. That's the only thing.
Like she had just mentioned that India is at a juncture when India is a developing country, and it is also at a crossroads between sustainability and economic development, because it is a very fast moving economy too. So, sir, my question is, don't we all think that the West is consuming and creating more waste than these developing countries, and the onus should be on them to lead with sustainability as well, because with this ongoing wars like the unrest in the Middle East, as well as the Russia-Ukraine crisis, and with America threatening to take over Greenland and Canada as well. So with this constant political unrest in the world, and war isn't I mean, it's not kind to the climate, it's not kind to the earth. So my question is, India's foreign policy is the strongest than it has been for quite a few decades. So right now, shouldn't India put some kind of pressure on the Western powers to create that onus on them, that you know, it is the
Finally, what
West's
you are
onus.
talking, the when I will not talk about US, I have rarely been. Couple of times I had been, and I have never bothered to visit. But generally, Europe has taken the lead. Whatever, they also have a lot of resource coming. It's not that governments have a lot of money. They have also have resource problems, but there they prioritize sustainability. European countries generally will have, they are trying their best. They are also small. They are trying their best, and at the European Union level, they have taken that lead, right? But the challenge is, as you are seeing, it's in the other part of the world where their own economic interest is actually much higher, and it's that one single superpower or couple of superpowers who are actually damaging everything, right? The rest of the world is kind of have to dance to their tune, which has to stop. And Europe is also at the receiving end of this. I mean, finally, all the because of the war effort, the refugees come to Europe and create problems. But this is a very difficult situation, right? In Western world, it's not easy to, and it will not be fair to put the entire Western world together. That's what I am also saying. Western European countries generally are trying their best. They also do not have that much money, but they are doing on their own enough things, and they are also trying to help some other countries as much as they can. But they are at the same time, they are kind of the middle of the world, so problems from both parts of the world are coming and converging in Europe now.
And sir,
Influence these some countries so that they can sell their arms and
But we
and
cannot
sir,
discuss.
India, between India and US, there is a, I mean, total purchase and sale of carbon credits also, which is going on. We are selling our carbon credits to them at a high price,
Yes.
but we don't know what is the long run cost to it. So.
Okay, we don't have solutions to all of this. We are simply academics. We can talk and express our views in these closed doors. Okay, thanks a lot. I also learnt a lot from these discussions. Final photos. And then
Last session will start with